Hi, Rhonda. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Just trying to get myself organized here. You're the first one in the queue, so we'll give it a couple more minutes and see who else comes. You have any questions while we're just hanging out here?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Okay. I did start the recording already, just so I didn't forget it. And let's see. Hard to believe we're already in week 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 109-year-old structure.
Hello, Dina. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. And Mallory is here too. Everybody's here. That's wonderful. You guys are so great and prompt and everything. So really appreciate that. I'm going to, I've already started the recording. And so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. And we can lose that and that. Okay. So it's official. We're in week 4. So welcome to week 4, and we've got a lot planned for today, and hope you've had a good week leading up to today, and that the rest of your week will be good too. So let's go and see what's next. So what's the plan for today after we have a bit of fun with Sage? Well, I want to show you the new instructions page on my website. That'll just take a minute. Also, we'll answer your questions if you have some in advance of getting started. We'll also cover if statements and nested if statements. We'll go into SQL statements and inner join SQL statements. That's enough to bite off in one meeting. And so we'll get started with that. And let's see. The first thing, let's have a little fun with Sage. In Sage, you can do a search of your reports to find the report that will work for you if you're looking for something specific. And the best way to do that is to just go into Sage and go down to 13.8. I explain it here in the sheet, but it's great to just show you. And so here's 13.8, and you come up with, let me think of something. Oh, I'm just going to type in hours, and you give it a click, and pretty quickly, depending on the letters or the word that you put in and how big your database is. But what that will do is it'll give you a list of everything that matches the word that you put in. And the more close you put in the description, the fewer will come. So you'll zero in on it closer. You can see this is just a little tiny bit here, so it got a lot because there's a lot with hours. Now, the word that you enter in doesn't mean it just has to be a word in the title of the report. It can be anywhere in the report. You know, it could be a heading or anything in here. So keep that in mind too. But anyway, and right now, this is showing, because it has, these are all the Sage reports, are they? Yeah, I think so. And so any one of these will have the sample to the side because Sage has those pre-installed. But once you get into the private reports, those are ones that you've created, and you can click on one. And then down here, you have two options. You can run the report just like that. And if it's a report that's 10.13.4, it's going to ask you to find it and then run it. But you can always go in and modify, and it opens up the modify right away. And so that's an easy glance as to see what kind of a report that is too. But anyway, that's a good way to find reports that you are looking for. Let's say you're looking for vacation or sick time. If you type in sick or vacation, it's going to give you a much narrower list of things. Let's do that real quick. Let's just do sick. Enter. Yep. Search. Come on, come on. There. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Well, it gave me quite a list still, you know. But anyway, so that's the search option. Oh, thank you, Windows. Okay, so let's slide this over a little bit more, and we'll go to the next slide. And how to save reports to a menu location. Do you know how to do that already?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I won't go into that much. Basically, you just click the save, and in this area, you type in the menu and the report number, and that gets it from basically a 13.4 location to a spot in your menu. Okay. Okay, and that's that. So let's let's go to instruction. I'm going to bring up the page in the website. And I just did this the other day. And what I've done is I've taken some of the pages that were there, the book page and some others that were there, and put it under instruction. And what we can do here is go down, and it gives you a listing of the different pages that there are, like the book, and then see all the video categories. That's another page or group of pages. Learn more about Sage, your software. Let us help your brand, the company look. And oh wow, Sage does all those things. So some of these are kind of duplicate, but some are a small focus and some are a broad focus. And so groupthink is where we get your whole team together and work on figuring out how you can use Sage better. and that's a group input thing. So, and then the spreadsheet, one-click Sage report. Basically, a lot of companies have, they're putting a spreadsheet together and they're gathering information from different sources because they can't get it in Sage in one report. Well, that's what I can do for them often, is I can take that spreadsheet with all the various types of data and I can make a report from that spreadsheet. So basically one click and you can run the report instead of spending hours. So many clients spend hours and hours, even days and days, gathering the information just so they can get that one report, whether it's for a weekly report or a monthly report, whatever. Anyway, that's what that's for. Anyway, so let's just take a quick look here. And I'm going to focus on the categories and creating reports videos. And I put this in here mainly as an aid to you guys. These are all reports in my channel on YouTube, but now you can get to them right here in the website. And so here's the report form demo, the custom report demo, adding fields and lines and boxes demo, adding fields, and some of these are duplicate, but they were done at different times, and so they have a little bit different slant on the issues. And then some of them are very short, and some of them are longer. Anyway, so these are how to do groupings, report form logo and boxes. Start a new report in Sage, 9-minute video. Calculated fields, 24 minutes. Maybe we should watch that today. No. Anyway, all these are available in there. And let's go back up here and take a look at. So there's the creating videos, and then there's the report writing group session videos. Now I haven't loaded those in here, and I want your input on this. I was thinking of having this a private group so that just the report writing group members can view these sessions, and so you'd have a password to get into it, and that way, you'd probably be watching your own, and they're not open to the public. So I think that might be a good thing to do. But anyway, if you have any thoughts on that, but I will be loading those in here, and I haven't done that yet. Right now, I just send you the links from YouTube because that's where they are. So if you have any input, just let me know. And so that's kind of the thing. And then there's the tip line. And when you get a chance, just take a look through some of that stuff. I have some fun with some of these graphics that I've done. And then, anyway, you get a chance to take a look. So that's that. And there. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the meat and potatoes. We're going to first talk about if then else statements. And on that list, it's this first one up here. And if then else statements, and I've got several pages describing these, so we'll cover those as we go to each page. The if then else statements are pretty simple, actually. They are if this, then this, or if this, then that. Basically, you're doing setting up a filter and then getting a result. And if the filter, it gives you the opportunity two results, either true or false or something like that, then that's what this is. If this is true, then here. And if it's not true, then this. So let's take a quick look on the next page. I believe I have more. That's that one. Okay, yeah. So this explains it a little bit better. So the if then else function enables you to conditionally return a value. So if an expression is true, you get result 1, and if it's not true, then you get result 2. And to explain that a little bit more, if the gate is open, then the dog will get out. And if it's not open, then it won't get out. Now that's a little simplistic, but that's kind of the basic of how if then else statements work. Okay, if the change order status is 5, then it's void, else nothing. Nothing prints. So there's lots of different variations to if then else statements, but they're really pretty simple to do. And in Sage, they are pretty straightforward. Let's take a look a little bit more here. Let's see. Catching up with my own notes here. Here's a simple example, and it's an AP invoice balance showing paid, void, or balance. Okay, so if the status is equal to 4, then it'll print paid. Else it'll, okay, and this is what's called a nested if then else statement. In other words, there's more than one if then else statement here. So you've got this is one part, else, and then the else part gives you something else. So basically the first part is if the status is 4, then paid. Else if the status is 5, then void. Else if it's not 4 or 5, then it prints the balance, because that's the field you have here. And so let's see. Let me go to the next page. I think I got that more. There. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, so here's a couple more examples of if then else statements. So basically, if the accounting or the accounts receivable invoice due date is greater or equal to today's date, $sign is always today's date. If it's equal or greater than today's date, then don't do anything. Else put in the balance minus the retainage. And so basically what's that saying is if the invoice due date is greater than today's, then nothing shows. Or if it's not greater than today's date, then you put in the balance due. Or to see this expression separated into parts, this is the expression, but here's the pieces: the if piece, the then piece, and the else piece. Let's try another one here. This is the AP invoice balance showing paid, void, or balance. So if the AP invoice status is equal to 4, then it'll show paid. So this is a report where you have lines, lots of lines of invoice information, and over in the balance column, this is the formula that goes in that balance column. And so what you're asking the report to show is, okay, if that particular invoice is paid, then you write, if the status is 4, then write paid. Else, if the status is 5, write void in that column. Else, if it's not 4 or 5, then go ahead and put the balance in there because there is a balance. And so that's what this is showing. And I split it out so that you have each of the statements separately, and maybe that's a little easier to understand. The elephant's kind of scratching his head. So anyway, let's go on to another example here. Okay, here's a job cost report. And there's a column, and we are going to do an if then else statement to show the different descriptions of the different types of things that could pop in here. This could be a vendor in this particular report. This could be a vendor, or it could be a vendor or a piece of equipment or an employee that could be in here as a description / job for that particular line. And so how this is written is if the job cost vendor number is greater than 0, in other words, if there is a vendor number, then show the vendor number and the vendor name. Else, if the job cost, if the equipment number, if it's a piece of equipment and therefore there would be a number, it's obviously greater than 0. If it's a piece of equipment, then show the equipment number and the equipment name. Else, if it's not a vendor or a piece of equipment, then if it's an employee number, then show the employee number and the employee name. And if it's not any of those three, then don't do anything, just leave it blank. Now, where'd that go? Oh, I think I'm covering it up here. There we go. Okay. Here's that same formula. And I've split each of these into the 3 sections. So if this is true, a vendor number is greater than 0, so therefore it is a vendor, then put the vendor information in. If it's not greater than 0, that means it's not a vendor, then you would do this one. And if it's asking if it's a piece of equipment, and if it's a piece of equipment, you put that in. And if it's not, then you're asking if it's an employee number, and that way you put in the employee information. And if it's not any of those 3, then nothing. And so these, just are different segments of this one entire if then else statement. It's actually a nested with three statements all in one, and that is in the report in that column. And this is what comes up. Well, let's see. Okay. Okay, this is really the same one. And yeah, I'm doing it again, showing it a little bit differently. If the vendor number is, then put that in. If the equipment number is, then put that in, and so forth. This is called a nested if statement, or it's actually 3 if statements entered together. Now, here are some more if then else statements, and I'm going to make this bigger so we can actually see them. Because the more examples you see of these, the more likely you are to say, I got it. Now I understand it. Now, let me ask you before I go any further, is this something that I need to explain more? Yes, no?
I think I'm pretty good on these.
Yeah, I think so too. Actually, that answered some questions because I was working on one of these and I figured out what I was doing wrong. So
Okay. Okay. And that's 2
Good.
of you.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. So
Yep.
anyway, these are in the materials that I sent you, and these might be statements you can actually use in various places. So then we'll go on. Now we are going to go into, now let me make this smaller again. And bring it over. Okay. Now we're going to talk about SQL statements. Now, the first student I taught, she asked this question. Well, the data is already there in the system. Why do we need an SQL statement? So I answered the question this way. And I'm going to read this because it's important for you to be able to understand SQL statements. It helps to understand the purpose of SQL statements, as they can be the most difficult concept to grasp and to write. Hopefully, this will help to understand the question why. Okay, if you're doing a report in the primary table of job costs and all the data you need to pull is in the job cost table, then you don't need SQL statements because all the needed info is right there in the job cost table. It's already connecting. You might need to use an if then else statement to qualify the times you need certain data in the job cost table. But basically, if you're in a table and all the data that you need is part of that table, then you don't need SQL statements. Now, if the data you need is not in the job cost table, but it's in one of the tables that connects to the job cost table, it could be in one of these tables that already connect there, then the data should be in the list of connecting tables associated with the job cost table. And they are right there on your screen too. And that's right here. Now, what if you need to pull some data from an AP invoice? The AP invoice table doesn't connect to the job cost table. So you look down here and you see job costs, okay, service, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and I opened these up where they, would show inside. Actually, I didn't open that one up, but none of these, the AP invoice table doesn't connect to the job cost table and is not in the list of connecting tables to job costs. Okay. that's when you need an SQL statement, because you can't, it's not in the primary table or the tables that connect to the primary table. Because if it's in one of these, then it's already going to connect because these are already connecting. So here's where the SQL statements are needed. I can pull some AP data by connecting these two tables, the job cost and the AP invoice, using an SQL statement, because there is at least one field that both tables have in common. In the case of these two, it's the ledger reference or link number field. This is not a direct connect. If it was, it would be listed in the tables that connect to the job cost table. It is an indirect connect because there is at least one matching field in each. In other words, the job cost table has a link number, and we'll talk about the link numbers in a minute. And the AP invoice table, or invoice, yeah, the AP invoice has a link number. And if the data from the AP invoice becomes a job cost from that invoice, the link numbers will be the same. Because, like AP invoices, when you are entering those in, after you've got that up, then up at the top of that screen, up pops the job cost question. What are the job costs for the items in that AP invoice? And when you fill that in, then those become job costs from that table. And the only thing that links them or connects them is that link number. So let's go to here. Okay, so here's the job cost. And we'll come down here. And the source is the AP invoice. And here's the link number, number 310. Now, in the AP invoice screen, you have a link number 310. And so maybe I can get this bigger and we'll be able to see this better. Okay, so this is an item in the invoice, which gives us an invoice total, and there's the total. And so if we go back up here, we see in the job cost folder that invoice total on the AP invoice has become a job cost item. And that total is there. And the system gives it a link number right here. This is the key to being able to connect. In this instance, the link number is what allows you to connect the AP invoice table to the job cost table. Now, why do we want to do that? Well, because the report we're writing is in the job cost table, but I want to pull some data from this screen. I might want to pull the vendor number or the job number, or if there's a subcontract number or an order number that's on this AP invoice screen, none of this connects to the job cost table. By using an SQL statement and connecting these two tables, at least one matching field with that one matching field, it allows me to connect this whole table to that table. And in this case, it's because this is the matching field. Does that help? Does that help make sense as to why and how the SQL statements work and why they're important?
Yes.
Good. Yes. Well, that's one of you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All three. Okay. Good. That's one of the hardest things to understand, and I've tried to, with this little segment, try to help you understand why SQL statements are important and how you use them to get what you need in a report. And we'll talk some more about that. Okay, so that's there. Okay, let's go here. No, too big. Let me make that smaller so we can see it all. Okay. I think I'm just going to minimize that there. Okay. Now let's dig into SQL statements a little bit more. Okay. The functions inside an SQL statement are the plus, the minus, the slant, which is a divide by, or a multiply, which is the asterisk. Those are mathematical functions or operators. You can use those in SQL statements. As a matter of fact, you use them all the time. And the language of the SQL statement is important. The select, the from, and the where are the key structure points in the statement. The placement of these operators is critical to proper calculation, and some operators are placed before rather than after the fields. The following chart, next page, describes the language operators you can use in a Sage SQL expression. Now, I did this with the in a Sage because in a Sage means that not all SQL expressions from the world, the way the world does SQL statements, not all these expressions will work in Sage. There are specific SQL statements that do work in Sage, and you'll learn which ones those are. They're all wondering too. Okay. Okay, so let's go here. Okay. Here's a description. This is in the book also, but the select statement, the from statement, and the where statement are explained here. The select locates the data for a selected field. In other words, select a field that you want to show in the report. Like right here, locates the selected field. The from statement indicates the source table that field is in. And the where is kind of like the criteria. When you run a report, you give it the selection criteria that zeroes in on what you get. And so the where gives the criteria that the data must meet for use in that. So here's a sample SQL statement. Cost code name in a time card line table. Okay, so we want to get the cost code name. We're doing a report using the time card line table, and we might be able to get the cost code number easily enough, but it doesn't give us the name. So we have to write a statement to pull the name. And that's what this is doing. Select locates the data from a field, the cost code name, from indicates the source table from the cost code table, where, and here's the selection criteria, the cost code number equals the time card line cost code number. And so basically it's saying Give me the name of the cost code, and the cost code number is matching the same cost code number that's in the time card line. Okay. Is that the one I was just on? No. Okay. I am repeating this up here because we're going to go a little bit deeper here now. So here's the statement. Oop. Back. Thank you. Here's the statement. These are the three pieces. We've talked about that enough. Now let's talk about some of the things that are in here. Okay, the curly brackets right here and here are used on the right side of the equal sign to connect or to contain or connect the same field from the primary table or other relevant subprimary tables. In other words, you're doing a report in the time card line table, and you want to pull the cost code name from the cost code table, and the connector is the cost code number is the same in this table as the cost code number in the table you're doing the report in. In this case, the time card line table. And so you have two fields here and an equal sign. For this to work, the field that's on the right side of the equal sign always has the curly brackets around it. Always. Unless it's not a field, it might be a number like the status equals 4. Then you don't need the curly brackets because it's not a field, it's a number or a word or something. But if it's a field, then it always has to have the curly brackets. That is the structure of an SQL statement. And then the square brackets here always surround the entire SQL statement. And so you've got the square bracket and the square bracket. That tells the system this is the whole statement because here's the beginning of it and here's the end of it. And then always inside it, you'll have a select and a from and a where statement. Okay. Now, okay, that's the same one. Now this is a similar statement with a twist that we're coming up here with. Okay, this is a statement. Here's the name of the statement or the formula name. Takeoff line, bid equals 0. Okay, and so the description is if bid item equals 0. And so what we're doing is this is an if statement. If then, where'd the else go? Oh, here. Okay. If then else. And the if statement is say if the bid item number is 0, then type in 0, none. That means there's no bid item number. in the report. If it's not 0, then type in the takeoff line bid item number. And that's okay because that's in the takeoff line. But what's not in the takeoff line is the name of the bid item number. And so the bid item table has that name. And so you're using the if then else statement to generate the bid item number and getting a select statement right there to generate the item name. So let's go down here a little bit further. This is what we just had up there. I'm going to break it into pieces here. So you've got an if then else statement, and you've thrown in a SQL statement to pull the item number, the item name. Let me see what I've got on the next one here. Yeah, more. Okay. And so yeah, let's come down here. Okay. This is going to explain a little bit more. The blue is the if then else statement, and it's asking if the bid item number is 0, print none. Or if it's not 0, print the bid item number. And what the SQL is asking for, which is down here, the red up here. See, the blue part is the if then else. This is the SQL statement. The red is the SQL statement. The red is asking print the bid item name if the bid item number is equal to the bid item number in the takeoff line. Okay. I'm just seeing what the difference is between those, and there is a difference. This statement is asking for the item name from the bid item table, where the bid item number is equal to the takeoff line number, and the bid item. Oh, this is the record. I'm sorry. This is the record number. So there's two selection criterias here, after the where. Because sometimes, it's not just enough to say, well, the bid item number is equal to the other bid item number. Sometimes you need more than that to zero in on it. In this case, it requires 2 items. You need the record number and the bid item number, so that you actually know which record you're talking about. And so that's what this is saying. Again, the blue and the red, that's the if then else statement. If the bid item number is 0, print none. If it's not 0, print the bid item number. And what this SQL is asking for is print the bid item name if the bid item number equals the bid item number in the takeoff line. But it's also clarifying that it's in the same record number. Now, the SQL statements do not require the capitalized letters. Like here. Okay, select is in caps, from is in caps, and where is in caps. That's just to help I visually separate them. But you know, having them as caps does not make any difference. I just wanted to make that clear because that'll be a question you ask yourself. It's only for seeing the separate phrases easier. Now, spaces inside the statement, like there's a space, there's a space, there's a space. Spaces don't count. And so 0 or more spaces are okay. How are we doing? Okay. We got more here on SQL statements. And let me do just a check with you and see if this is starting to make some sense.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Okay. And that's one of you.
Yeah, it makes sense for the data that you're showing. I'm wondering how it works with like other tables that don't have like those link numbers.
Yes. Okay. We'll get into some of those too.
Yeah.
And okay, but you know, you're at least getting some understanding of how it's working, but you know, it takes working with them yourself, creating them to get a really good grasp of it. But if we can get a basic understanding of what SQL statements are for and how they're constructed, then that's a big plus for today. Okay, so let's take a look at this one, cost to date. Okay, let me see if I have the, yeah, I've got a piece of the report here. Here, the cost to date column. Now, we're trying to get this number for each of these rows. Each row is a job. We got the budget plus changes, the projected profit, cost to date, and the actual profit. To get this number, let's take a look at what we got here. Okay. To get that number, we're putting in an SQL statement that says select the job cost amount. Now what, I'm not showing what table, well, this will tell me what table it's in. Okay, so we're asking it to pull the job cost amount from the job cost table where the job cost status is equal to 1, that's open instead of void, and the job cost job number is equal to the accounts receivable record number, which is the job number in the accounts receivable screen. And so we're doing a report that's obviously in the accounts receivable table. Because look at down here, these are jobs from the job table, the accounts receivable table, and that's what this whole report is the primary table is the job table. Now we're trying to get costs into this table. Now they don't connect very well, but we have something in the job cost table and the accounts receivable table that match, and that's the job number. The job cost table has a job number, and the accounts receivable table has a job number. And so we can connect these two tables because there's a matching field in each. That's the whole idea about SQL statements. If you can find a table, a field that matches. Okay, let me do something else here real quick. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I should have thought of that in advance. Okay. Oh, good. There it is. Oh, let's see. That's not the one I'm thinking of. Let's see here. Maybe that. Maybe. Let's take a look. No, that's not the one. It's a good one, but let me see. I'll get the other one. Okay, we'll go and open. See if it's handy. That's the one we just did. No. Ooh, there it is. No, maybe. I think that's it. Yes. Okay. Okay. If you pull the database format, from Sage, if you print it, this is my version of that. Let's see. Let's get this bigger. Okay, so this table. Okay, we're in the. Let me go all the way over. Oh, that is already okay. Okay, this is the table. Let me go down and find something better. Prime change. Okay. Okay, this is the prime change table, and it has a job number. A matching field is shown right here. The AR job table has a job number. Let's look at this one. The prime change table, it has a phase number. The job phase table has a phase number. And so if you need the phase number name, this is the connecting field, because there's a phase number and a phase number. Let's take a look at prime change, change order type. Okay, change order type has a record number, a type number, and so this is showing fields that match in the various tables. If you've pulled have you all pulled the database format? Let me show you where that is.
No.
Okay.
I have one, but I haven't looked at yours with all the tabs on it. I really like that.
Yeah, and I will be sending you this as part of being a member of the report group.
Yay.
Yeah. and so right here is okay, print database format. Can you see that?
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, okay. Print database format. If you do that, it comes out with information, but it's not quite as nice as this. I've done a lot of work to make this data more usable. And so even if you don't have this, the database table does show you the related fields. And so, for instance, proposal line has a job number, and the proposal has a job number. Cost code has a cost code number, and the cost code field has a cost code number. This is the proposal line has a cost code number, and the cost code table has a cost code number. And so these are the fields that connect. And these aren't the only ones. Even though they're just these showing, there are others that can connect. You just have to figure it out when you're trying to find a connecting item when you need a number in a report that isn't in the primary table. Okay, so since I'm in here, by the way, let's see. Okay, here's the master list. Actually, I've still tweaked this. Let's see. Okay. And so this is the list after I've tweaked it. Basically, I've added these so that they are easy to find and use. In the other field, you get this up here once, and then this is in there, and then none of this is together. Anyway, so on these, you got a master list. That's the way it comes. And here, by table description. So this is the description. No, wait, this is the description. Okay, so I've sorted this whole batch by table description. And so it's not sounding very good because I'm making myself confused a bit, but and and this tab shows it sorted by table name. Let me show this. Okay, so here's the table name, and oh, this is the field description. Okay, so there's, see, the descriptions are all sorted together, and so you can get the different tables with that same description. In other words, when you're trying to find fields and things like that, this report that I've created just is marvelous to help you find those things. And so that's the master list, but let me show you what else I've added here. Okay, so guess what? There's the CP numbers. Nice and handy. Here are some calculated fields that I've found were needful, often enough to put them in here so they're easily accessible. And so you've got, well, you'll be able to look through them and see. Here's the salesman's name, the estimator's name. Yeah, you know, to pull those informations, owner's name, anyway. And those are some calculators. Here's primary tables, expanded, and all the tables. Anyway, so that will be coming your way too, along with this one, which is a listing of all the calculated formulas, all the formulas in all of the SAGE reports. And so, you know, project management, here's the menu, here's the report name, here's the primary table in that report, here's the report number, here's the name of the calculation, and like, you know, this report has several calculations, and so they're all listed here. And then there's the calculation description, and there's the calculation. And like the other one, I have this sort by calc. Let's see. Those are all just the one way, but in as so far as being sorted. But that's a very good one. I've also highlighted the ones that pop up frequently enough to where I thought I'd be able to highlight them so they're easier to find. Okay. Here's calculations if you are trying to do the GL types, like current assets, equity, direct expenses. Those are the formulas. You can look through those too. How Master Builder works. Back then it was Master Builder when I did this. Okay, this is the main, and this was stuff that I did for my book when I was writing it. And this one is really cool. This tab, sort by calc, by the calc itself. So that gets all the if then else statements together, all the case ones together. Anyway, you'll have some fun with those too, and I'll send that to you. Okay. Let's see, where are we? 1, 2. No, we're doing okay time-wise. So, getting back to this statement. So again, we're trying to get the costs to date in the job table report. And so we are asking this, we're doing a select statement, an SQL statement, asking for the job table's cost amount from the job table, job cost table, where the job cost table's status is equal to 1 and the job cost table's job number is equal to the matching job number in the primary table, which is the accounts receivable table. Now, the relation between the phrases on both sides of the equal sign, that's what this is. And that's what it gets you here. And again, the curly brackets are used on the right side of the equal sign to contain or connect the same field, but from the primary table or other sub-primary table. The purpose of the SQL statement is to connect data that does not already connect in Sage. Finding that connection is sometimes, well, truly a pain. Trial and error seems to be an apt description for report writing much of the time. Sometimes I'll get a request for a report to write, and I'll write it, and then at the end, when I'm testing it, I'm realizing that it's not giving me all the information I need. Like if I'm doing it in the budget table, then when I run the report after I've written it, I find that only jobs are showing up if they have budgets. But in the report, the jobs aren't showing up if there's no budget. And so choosing that table, the primary table, is really important. So phase is a different, here's another example, a little more complicated. The phase name. The difference between the two examples below of phase name is the primary table. Okay, AR invoice requires job phase number to link to the accounts receivable invoice phase number. That's the AR invoices table. Okay, AP invoice requires the job phase number to link to the AP phase number. In other words, the AP invoices table. So the report that you're writing uses different tables. If you're using one table in one report, then the linking has to be, even though you've got a phase number in AC and a phase number in AP, I mean an AR and AP, you have to use the right one for that particular report and that particular primary table. So in other words, if you're in an AR invoice report, then you have to connect, in this case, the phase number from the job phase table, connect to the accounts receivable phase number. Here it's an AP invoice, and so you have to connect to the AP phase number. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so invoices phase number, okay. Okay, I need to go on to the next page before we run out of time today. Okay, and maybe it's too soon to go to inner joins. Maybe it is. Well, I'll run through it real quick, and just know that if you can't get all the information by connecting two tables, you can connect three tables in an SQL statement or four tables in an SQL statement. And that's what an inner join statement is. I don't think I'm going to go into that today. We'll go into that next week. But go ahead and read through this part of the materials. Basically, an inner join statement. No, I'm not going to do it. It's just, too much and too little time left. And, I want you to get a good grasp of just a standard SQL statement, which we've covered today pretty thoroughly in the sense of the basics. So let's see what else is here. That's inner join. Okay, let's go to here. Okay, homework. Just work on the company report that you want to do for your own company. No pressure on getting it done by a certain time. That is something that I'd like you to have finished before we finish. And if you haven't, then we can work on it together one-on-one after classes are done, so that you can get that done for your company as an extra plus for having taken the course. So that's the only homework for this time. Also, I'd like you to let me know the areas that you still feel uncomfortable with, so that we can be sure and cover them in weeks 5 and 6. And if you find that we need a 7th week, that's not a problem. We'll do it. And if not all of you want it, but only 1 or 2 of you want it, that's fine. We'll do it. And so, happy Labor Day, by the way, coming up.
Yeah.
And thank you. Okay. Okay, I think we've done a good job in getting timing what goes. I put the inner joins in there just in case, but it's too soon. So I think we did good. And any questions or anything you need to talk to me a bit with afterwards, or write, email me, or call me, whatever's good. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. Take care, and
Thank you.
take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So real quick question.
Yes.
So is that why I'm probably having issues on my pay stubs trying to show the fuel? Just because there's a cost code in the time card